Dr. Marcus Chen wasn't just another billionaire tech founder. He was the man the world believed would change the future of medicine. A prodigy, a visionary, a name whispered with the same awe reserved for legends. He stood on stages, under bright lights, speaking to crowds of thousands. Investors, scientists, world leaders, everyone wanted a piece of the miracle he claimed he had built. A device that would revolutionize healthcare forever. A device that could save millions of lives. But there was one problem. It didn't work. Not even a little. Behind the scenes, Marcus knew it, and the pressure of maintaining such a monumental lie started to consume him. 47 days later, the illusion collapsed. The FBI stormed his mansion at dawn, cameras flashing, reporters shouting his name as he was dragged outside in handcuffs. In one morning, the man hailed as a savior became a global fraud. His empire crumbled, his reputation vanished, and his best friend David stepped into the courtroom and testified against him. The betrayal was brutal, public, and final. Marcus was sentenced to 11 years in prison, 11 years to replay every moment, every interview, every lie, 11 years to hate the man he believed had destroyed him. But when Marcus walked out of those prison gates, something happened that he couldn't have prepared for. Before we continue, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. I love giving shout-outs. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. There's more of this story ahead. Because reality was not the story he had been telling himself. David hadn't taken his company. David hadn't sold him out. David hadn't betrayed him at all. While Marcus was building a fantasy for the world, David was fighting a nightmare in the shadows, a kidnapping plot, a ransom demand, and at the center of it, a secret Marcus never knew existed. His own son, a child conceived years earlier, hidden to protect him from those who wanted to use Marcus's success as leverage. And when threats escalated, David did the only thing he could. He took the blame. He sacrificed his own life to keep the boy safe. But Marcus never knew. He never understood. And in the chaos that followed his release, paranoid, traumatized, desperate, he confronted David, and he killed him. Only after David's death did the truth finally surface. The files, the messages, the evidence, the years of silent sacrifices, and Marcus Chen, the man who promised the world he would save lives, realized he had taken the life of the only person who had ever truly been loyal to him. This is the story of a genius consumed by lies, pressure, and paranoia, and how the truth, when buried long enough, doesn't just destroy reputations, it destroys people. Want that CT? Brothers in a dorm room. Marcus Chen met David Rodriguez in a Stanford dorm room in 2004. Marcus was the quiet genius, buried in biomedical engineering textbooks. David was the charismatic MBA student who could pitch anything to anyone. Their friendship started the night Marcus burst into the room, frustrated and exhausted. Blood tests take weeks, he said, pacing the floor. People die waiting for results. There has to be a better way. David didn't overthink it. He never did. So invent it, he replied. You've got the science brain. I've got the business brain. If we could actually do this. That single sentence became the foundation of everything that followed. They started Medicor right there in that cramped dorm room with $12,000, a used laptop, and a dream that most people would have laughed at. Marcus built algorithms that could analyze blood samples faster than any lab in the world. David handled investors, marketing, logistics, everything Marcus hated. It wasn't just a partnership. It was a brotherhood. For the next 20 years, they survived failed prototypes, skeptical investors, product recalls, lawsuits, and nights where bankruptcy felt inevitable. But every time the world pushed, they pushed back, together. Marcus trusted David with everything: company finances, private accounts, internal passwords, entire systems that controlled billions. David never once asked for that trust. He just earned it. Every week they met at a small Italian restaurant in Palo Alto. Same table, same waiter, same ritual. Brothers don't betray brothers, David would say as they closed out the night. We built this together. We'll finish it together. And Marcus believed him because David had proved it over and over. When Marcus's college girlfriend Sarah disappeared while pregnant, it was David who kept him stable. When Marcus lost his father, it was David who handled the arrangements when Marcus couldn't stop shaking. And when Medicor nearly collapsed in 2015, David didn't hesitate. He mortgaged his house to keep them alive. Their bond wasn't theoretical. It wasn't sentimental. It was forged in crisis, sacrifice, and loyalty. Trust wasn't something Marcus gave blindly. It was something David earned across 2 decades of unwavering commitment. And that's what makes what happened next so unthinkable. The illusion of LifeScan AI. Medicor's revolutionary product was called LifeScan AI. The promise was extraordinary. Place a single drop of blood on a specialized chip, and within 15 minutes, artificial intelligence would analyze it for 200 different diseases: cancer, diabetes, heart disease, infections, genetic markers, everything. The technology would save millions of lives, and more importantly, it would make billions of dollars. By 2024, Medicor had contracts with hospitals across America. Walgreens planned to install LifeScan machines in 5,000 stores. The military wanted them for battlefield medicine. Foreign governments lined up with purchase orders. Marcus Chen appeared on magazine covers, TED Talks, news programs. He spoke with the confidence of someone who had already changed the world. He looked unstoppable. But beneath the polished presentations, the flashing lights, and the headlines, LifeScan AI didn't work. Not even close. The artificial intelligence produced random results. Cancer patients were told they were healthy. Healthy patients were told they were sick. The machine was essentially a very expensive random number generator, dressed up in medical terminology and sleek design. Marcus knew. He had known for 3 years. He told himself he could fix it. One more algorithm, one more trial, one more adjustment. He kept promising investors and partners that the breakthrough was just months away. He ran trials using manipulated results, fake data, anything to keep the illusion alive. He wasn't a fraud, he told himself. He was a visionary, someone who just needed more time. David knew too. He had expressed concerns in private, early warnings whispered between meetings, but Marcus reassured him, time and time again, "We're close. The foundation is solid. We just need to refine it." And David believed him, or at least he seemed to. The world saw a genius changing medicine, but behind the curtain, the empire was built on lies, fear, and desperation. And it was only a matter of time before the illusion would collapse. The fall. Everything fell apart on a Tuesday morning in October 2024. Marcus Chen was having breakfast on the terrace of his mansion when David called. His voice was tight, urgent, panicked. "Marcus, we have a problem, a big one." "What kind of problem?" Marcus asked, sensing the weight before he even heard it. "Someone leaked our internal testing data to the Wall Street Journal. The real data. They know the machines don't work." Marcus felt the world tilt. "That's impossible. Those files are encrypted. Only you and I have access." "I know," David said quietly, "but they have them. And Marcus, the FBI just called. They're opening an investigation." 90 minutes later, the article hit the internet. Medicor's miracle machine. A $9 billion lie. It had everything. Internal memos proving Marcus knew the technology was failing. Test results showing the AI was random. Emails where Marcus instructed employees to manipulate data. Marcus's phone exploded. Calls from investors, lawyers, board members, journalists. He ignored them all. He drove straight to Medicor headquarters. The FBI was already there. 20 agents swarmed the offices, carrying boxes of documents, imaging hard drives, interviewing terrified employees. "Dr. Chen," a senior agent said, approaching with a folder. "We need to talk." "About what?" Marcus tried to sound calm. "About the $9 billion fraud you've been running. About the patients who received false diagnoses. About the people who died because your machine said they were healthy when they had cancer." Marcus's stomach dropped. "I was trying to fix it. It was going to work." "Save it for your lawyer," the agent interrupted. "Marcus Chen, you're under arrest for wire fraud, securities fraud, and medical fraud." The handcuffs clicked around his wrists. In his own office, surrounded by employees who had trusted him. As they led him to the elevator, Marcus saw David standing in the hallway, face pale, eyes unreadable. Guilt? Fear? Satisfaction? "David," Marcus called. "David, tell them we were fixing it. Tell them." David turned away, simply walked into his office, closed the door softly behind him. That was the moment Marcus Chen believed his best friend of 20 years had betrayed him. Before we see how Marcus's medical empire crumbles completely, I want to ask you, have you ever trusted someone with everything, only to have them destroy you? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe if stories of betrayal and downfall grip you from the very first minute. Now, let's see how deep this betrayal really goes. The trial in silence. Over the next 6 months, federal prosecutors built an overwhelming case against Marcus Chen. They had everything. Internal emails where Marcus admitted the technology didn't work, but ordered continued sales anyway. Financial records showing he personally made $400 million selling stock while the company was built on lies. Testimony from engineers who said Marcus silenced their concerns. Medical records of patients harmed by false diagnoses, including 3 who died from undetected cancers that LifeScan claimed they didn't have. Marcus's lawyers tried everything. They argued he was a visionary who made mistakes, not a criminal. They claimed he genuinely believed the technology would work. They suggested he was the victim of corporate sabotage. None of it mattered. What haunted Marcus most during those months wasn't the investigation itself. It was David's silence. David had disappeared, resigned from Medicor 3 days after Marcus's arrest, moved out of his Palo Alto home, changed his phone number. His lawyers released a statement saying David had been deceived by Dr. Chen like everyone else and was cooperating fully with authorities. Marcus tried to reach him dozens of times. Emails bounced back. Letters went unanswered. Messages through mutual friends were ignored. 20 years of friendship erased like it never existed. The trial. The trial lasted 7 weeks. Marcus sat at the defense table, watching his life dissected in clinical detail. Prosecutors presented emails with his name on them, financial documents signed by him. Video of him promising investors LifeScan worked perfectly. Tearful testimony from a widow whose husband died because LifeScan missed his pancreatic cancer. David never testified. He had cut some kind of deal with prosecutors. Immunity in exchange for documents. He provided everything Marcus needed to hear against himself without ever facing him in court. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Marcus stood emotionless as the verdict was read. Wire fraud, securities fraud, medical fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. The charges kept coming like relentless waves. The judge sentenced him to 11 years in federal prison. As the marshals led him out of the courtroom, Marcus saw a familiar face in the back row. Dave, just for a moment. Their eyes met across the room. Marcus mouthed one word, "Why?" David looked away. And in that instant, Marcus's world collapsed, not just from law, but from betrayal. Years in the cage. Federal Correctional Institution, Lompoc. Marcus arrived at Lompoc Federal Prison on a gray January morning. The man who once lived in a $10 million mansion now stepped into a 6x8 cell. Concrete walls, iron door, thin mattress, no illusions left. Everyone knew who he was. The fake doctor, the billionaire fraud, the man whose machine had killed people. Some inmates admired the scale of the crime. Others hated him for being a wealthy man now forced to breathe the same air they did. Marcus didn't care. Not about the noise, not about the stares. He had only one thought. David Rodriguez destroyed him, and I'm going to destroy him back. Rage. The first year was pure fire. Marcus paced his cell for hours, replaying 20 years of friendship. Every laugh, every deal, every late-night strategy session. He analyzed it all like a corrupted file, searching for the moment the betrayal began. He never found one, which made it worse. He wrote furious letters, pages of accusations and venom, and tore them up again and again. His cellmate, Thompson, a soft-spoken accountant doing time for embezzlement, watched him quietly. "You were betrayed," Thompson said one night. "My business partner," Marcus muttered. 20 years he sold me out to save himself. "You planning revenge?" "Every second I'm breathing," Thompson nodded. "Revenge is like a second sentence. You finish the first one, then you start serving the one you gave yourself." Marcus glared at him. "You ever get your revenge?" "No." Thompson looked away. "And it's eating me alive. If you're going to do it right." Year 2, research. Rage cooled into something colder, more precise. Prison had library computers, limited, monitored, but useful. And Marcus used every minute. He mapped out David's new life. Seattle, nice house in Capitol Hill, new consulting firm, daughter in private school. Marcus wrote everything down like a surgeon planning a procedure. And study. Identity theft, financial manipulation, backdoor access strategies, system vulnerabilities. Prison was a university, and Marcus was graduating top of the class. Thompson noticed the notebooks filling with data. "You're planning something big," he said. "I'm planning justice." Thompson sighed. Justice and revenge look the same from the outside. The difference is one ends, the other consumes. "I don't care," Marcus said. "I just need him to feel what I felt." Year 3, the discovery. The letter arrived on a Tuesday from a former Medicorps employee, someone who felt guilty for testifying against him, now working quietly as a private investigator. Marcus opened it casually. He didn't finish reading casually. "2 years before your arrest, David Rodriguez took out a $2 million life insurance policy. Beneficiary, Miguel Chen, age 22. Mother, Sarah Gonzalez, the same Sarah you dated at Stanford." Marcus froze. Sarah, his first real love, the woman who left suddenly, pregnant, without a goodbye. Marcus read the letter again, a third time. He had a son, a 22-year-old son. And David had known. David had been sending money to the boy quietly for years. Why? Why would a man secretly support another man's child? Unless he was hiding something bigger. Unless he was protecting something Marcus didn't know. Marcus's rage mutated into something nuclear. This wasn't just corporate betrayal. This was personal. Blood deep. The plan. The final years were consumed by one thing, the blueprint of destruction. Marcus reviewed the plan daily. Every detail refined, every scenario mapped, every weakness of David's life cataloged. And with good behavior, Marcus earned early release. 6 months left. Thompson watched Marcus pack the few belongings he had. "You know this is going to destroy you too," Thompson said. Marcus didn't hesitate. "I've already been destroyed," he said. "This just gives me purpose." And with that, Marcus Chen, former visionary, fallen billionaire, now a man rebuilt from rage, prepared to walk out of prison and begin the slow, methodical dismantling of the man he once called brother. A release, the rebirth of a monster. Marcus is about to make choices that will haunt him forever. But before we step into the part of this story where revenge stops being an idea and becomes a strategy, smash that like button if you're feeling the intensity, and share this with someone who appreciates deep, unsettling stories about justice, loyalty, and betrayal. Because what comes next will show you just how far a brilliant mind can fall when you take everything away from him. Marcus Chen walked out of Lompoc Federal Prison on a cold Thursday morning in March of 2031. He was 48 now, older, lean for prison food, hair streaked with gray, face carved into harder angles. But it was his eyes that had changed the most. They held nothing of the man who once believed he could save the world. What lived there now was colder, patient, merciless. A car waited for him in the parking lot. Not a friend, not a family member, just a rental with a key in an envelope, because Marcus had no one left who would come for him. He got in and drove south in silence. His destination, a small, anonymous apartment in Los Angeles. One room, thin carpet, secondhand furniture. A desk with a single laptop sitting on it like an unspoken invitation. That laptop was his new life. Fake identities, shell accounts, contact lists full of people who operated in shadows and worked for cash. Digital tools for the kind of revenge that doesn't require fists, just intelligence, patience, and a willingness to burn your own soul to get what you want. Marcus opened a bottle of whiskey, his first drink in 6 years. He poured a glass and looked at the only picture he kept. Stanford, 2004. 2 young men in a dorm room, arms around each other, invincible smiles. Marcus and David, brothers in everything but blood. He lifted the glass. "To 20 years of friendship," Marcus said quietly, "and to however long it takes to make you pay for destroying them." Then he drank, and when the glass hit the table, Marcus didn't hesitate. He sat down, opened the laptop, and began turning every skill he ever had toward a single purpose. The slow, calculated destruction of David Rodriguez. Hunt finding Miguel. His first move wasn't revenge. It wasn't sabotage. It wasn't violence. It was finding his son. Miguel Chen lived in Portland, a software developer. Clean apartment, good salary, a girlfriend he seemed genuinely in love with, and he looked exactly like Marcus. Same sharp jawline, same restless eyes, same way of leaning forward when he listened, like he was calculating the world in real time. Marcus didn't approach him. Not yet. He watched from a distance, parking lots, cafes, the street outside Miguel's apartment, trying to memorize 22 years of a life he never got to witness. And he felt everything. Pride that Miguel had become brilliant without him. grief for the milestones he'd missed, and rage, cold, surgical rage that David had hidden this from him. But in the middle of all that fury, something else surfaced. A conscience. Miguel was thriving, happy, untouched by the sins of his biological father. Did Marcus have the right to destroy that peace? For 3 days, Marcus wrestled with the question, and then he remembered David turning away in the courtroom, and the doubt evaporated. David had stolen 22 years from him. That crime demanded punishment. Miguel would meet his father, but only after Marcus finished the war he'd come to fight. Phase 2. Financial destruction. Marcus turned his attention back to David. This wasn't impulsive anger anymore. This was strategy. He spent months infiltrating David's consulting firm using everything he learned in prison. Social engineering, password profiling, exploiting unsecured financial APIs, the way a surgeon exploits a vein. In 3 months, $2 million vanished from David's business accounts. The withdrawals looked internal, embezzlement by an employee. Client contracts were quietly corrupted and auto-terminated. Anonymous tips went to the IRS. Audits followed. Confidence collapsed. Within 6 months, David's consulting firm was dead. Employees quit. Clients walked. Lawsuits arrived like a swarm. Marcus watched from the shadows, feeling something close to relief. But satisfaction is a dangerous thing, because once you feel it, you want more. And Marcus wanted more. Now, phase 3, social destruction. Next came David's reputation. Marcus crafted lies, precise, believable lies, and scattered them across the internet with surgical finesse. The narrative, David Rodriguez, the whistleblower hero, was actually the mastermind behind the Medicare scandal. Marcus blended truth and fiction until the difference became meaningless to anyone reading. Medical forums lit up, anonymous blogs, industry gossip channels. Then articles. Was David Rodriguez more involved in the Medicare fraud than he claimed? The fall wasn't dramatic, it was slow. Public confidence didn't shatter overnight, it rotted day by day. David posted fewer photos, stopped smiling in the few he did. The man who once radiated effortless confidence now looked tired, haunted even. Marcus watched all of it with cold, methodical calm. And for the first time since prison, he felt powerful again. But the thing about revenge, the real deep kind, is that it never ends where you think it will. And Marcus was about to cross a line he could never come back from. The daughter. Sofia Rodriguez was 18 now, beginning her freshman year at UCLA. Marcus watched her from a distance. David's daughter, the child David got to raise while Marcus spent 7 years in a cell, never knowing his own son even existed. The temptation to hurt David through Sofia simmered like acid. It would be simple. A rumor planted in the right place, a leak of something embarrassing, a quiet stain on her reputation, enough to ruin her college experience, enough to make David feel helpless. Marcus spent 3 weeks designing it, every detail, every consequence. But the night before he moved forward, something stopped him. Sofia posted a photo. She was sitting beside David in a small coffee shop, smiling at him with soft, worried eyes. The caption read, "Dad's been through hell lately, but he never complains. Strongest person I know. Lucky to be his daughter." David's smile was thin, forced, exhausted. Marcus stared at that image for an hour. Sofia loved her father, fully. The way Marcus once loved his own father. The way Miguel might have loved Marcus if life had given them a chance. Could he destroy that? Yes, one voice whispered. David ruined your chance to be a father. Why should he keep what he stole from you? But another voice rose from somewhere deeper, a quieter one. Do you really want to be the kind of man who harms a child just to feed old wounds? Marcus poured himself another glass of whiskey, muttered that he'd decide tomorrow. Tomorrow came. He still couldn't do it. So he turned to the last step, the final step, the one he'd been saving. Phase 5, the poison. Prison had taught Marcus one thing. Revenge means nothing if the target never knows who delivered it. David needed to know. He needed to understand every reason, every hurt, every scar. So Marcus did something he hadn't done in 7 years. He reached out. He sent David a message. "We need to talk. You owe me that much, MC." He didn't expect a reply. But 3 hours later, his phone lit up. "Where?" David wrote. They met in a quiet Seattle park on a gray Wednesday afternoon. The kind of gray that feels intentional, like the world itself was holding its breath. Marcus arrived early. He watched David approach the bench. And for a moment, He barely recognized the man he used to call a brother. David looked smaller now, thinner, older, like someone had taken a lifetime of confidence and hollowed it out from the inside. Good. David sat, leaving a cautious distance between them. Marcus, he said softly, you look like I spent 6 years in federal prison? Marcus cut in. Yeah, it changes you. David lowered his eyes. I'm sorry about. Don't. Marcus's voice sliced through the air. Don't apologize. Don't explain. I only need one answer. Just one. Did you betray me for money? For a deal? For what? David didn't speak. Not at first. He just stared out at the empty park, jaw tightening, as if the truth itself was something that hurt to hold. When he finally spoke, it was barely a whisper. I can't tell you. Marcus leaned in. Can't or won't? Can't. David met his eyes, haunted, cracking at the edges. You don't understand. There are things I can't explain. But it wasn't grief. It was never grief. Then what was it? I can't tell you, he repeated. I wish I could. God, I wish I could, but I can't. The rage hit Marcus like a current. 20 years. 20 years, David, and you can't even give me the truth? I'm sorry, David said quietly. I'm so sorry. Marcus stood. You destroyed my life. You stole my son from me. And you think sorry means anything? He let out a cold, humorless laugh. You're going to pay for what you did. You're already paying, and it's only going to get worse. David didn't argue. He just looked at him, tired, hollow, defeated. I know, he said. Marcus turned and walked away, leaving David alone on the bench, swallowing a truth he'd never be allowed to speak. But what David didn't know was that Marcus had already delivered the final blow, a brief brush of the hand, barely noticeable, but enough to transfer a trace amount of the compound Marcus spent years perfecting. The poison was elegant, a slow, creeping collapse disguised as random illness, absorbed through the skin, no immediate symptoms, no antidote, and no way to trace it back to a single moment on a cold Wednesday afternoon. Over the next 3 months, David Rodriguez would feel his mind cloud, his coordination slip, his body fail him piece by piece. He would know he was dying, but he would never know how. For Marcus, this was the perfect ending, the kind of revenge you don't just taste, you savor. What comes next? We'll rewrite everything you think you understand about this story. If betrayal, justice, and the darker sides of human ambition fascinate you, make sure you're subscribed, because the truth Marcus uncovers next will haunt him for the rest of his life. 3 months later, David Rodriguez was unraveling exactly as Marcus engineered. Hospital visits, seizures, neurological collapse the doctors couldn't explain. To Marcus, it was justice finally taking shape, but then the story shifted. One morning, a package arrived at Marcus's apartment. Plain, unmarked, no return address. Inside, a handwritten letter and a USB drive. The letter shook with weakness, but the signature was unmistakable. Marcus, if you're reading this, I'm finally free from this nightmare. Please watch the drive. You deserve the truth. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you sooner. David. Marcus's pulse quickened. Not with fear, but with something far more dangerous. Doubt. He slid the USB into his laptop. The video opened instantly. The video. The footage was dated 2 years before Marcus's arrest. David sat alone in his home office. No confidence, no posture, just a man drowning. Marcus, if you're watching this, it means something happened to me. And you finally gained access to what I've kept buried for years. He swallowed hard. His hands trembled. I need you to understand why everything happened. Why I couldn't tell you the truth. Why I had to destroy your life. Marcus leaned closer to the screen. David continued. 3 years ago, I developed a gambling problem. I don't even know how it started. Stress, panic, weakness, but it spiraled. I got in deep with people you don't argue with. I owed them $2 million. David looked away, ashamed. I was going to tell you. I swear I was. But then they came to me with another solution. The video cut. Photos filled the screen. Sophia walking to school. Candid shots of her at the mall, at home, always with a timestamp. Then another set of photos. A young man Marcus didn't recognize at first. Then he did. Miguel, his son. The son he never got to hold, never got to know. The son David knew about all along. David reappeared on screen shaking. They knew about Miguel, he said. Sarah made me promise not to tell you when she left. I honored that. I've been supporting him for years. Quietly, at a distance. Trying to be the uncle he needed, since you didn't know he existed. Marcus felt the world tilt. David wiped his eyes. The men I owed money to, they were connected to biotech innovations, Medicor's biggest rival. They'd been watching us, waiting for a weak link, and when I fell into debt, they found it. The video showed text messages, emails, encrypted threats, photos of Sophia and Miguel marked with crosshairs. They kidnapped them, Marcus. His voice cracked. They kidnapped both kids, my daughter and your son. Marcus stopped breathing. They told me I could save the children or save you, not both. David broke completely. I chose the children. The footage cut again. Documents, contracts, communication logs from biotech innovations executives outlining the entire operation. They had engineered David's gambling addiction, monitored his family, orchestrated the kidnappings, used David as a weapon, destroyed Medicor from the inside, and framed Marcus so cleanly the government never questioned it. David returned on screen. Older now, sicker. The man Marcus confronted in the park. I didn't betray you for greed, or power, or ambition. I betrayed you because they made me watch my daughter and your son held at gunpoint. They told me if I warned you, they would kill them both. He wiped his face with shaking hands. I've lived in hell, Marcus. Every day, watching you suffer. Unable to explain, knowing you hated me, knowing I deserved it. He leaned forward, closer to the camera. You weren't betrayed by me. You were betrayed by people who weaponized our love for our children. People who understood exactly how to make two best friends destroy each other. Tears streamed down his face. I don't expect you to forgive me. I only wanted you to know the truth before this. Illness took me. I'm sorry, Marcus, for everything. The screen cut to black. Silence. And Marcus realized with crushing weight that he had killed the wrong man. Marcus sat frozen. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Then he hit replay. And again. Each viewing drove the truth deeper. David hadn't betrayed him. David had saved his son. David had made the impossible choice. Save Marcus or save the children. And chosen the children because that is what fathers do. Because that is what love does. And Marcus had poisoned him. He stared at his hands. The same hands that had brushed David's in the park 3 months ago. The same hands that had condemned the only person who had ever protected him to a slow, cruel death. No, 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 he whispered. He grabbed his phone, shaking, calling, desperate. David didn't answer. He called hospitals, checked social media, sent frantic emails. Finally, at 3 a.m., he found a headline. Former Medicor executive David Rodriguez dies at 48. Unexplained neurological illness, died peacefully at home, survived by daughter Sophia. Marcus read it over and over until the laptop slipped from his numb fingers. He had killed an innocent man, the only person who had loved, sacrificed, and acted with true courage. He had done it for revenge, against a betrayal that never existed. The letter? Inside the package was another envelope. David's handwriting, familiar, careful, trembling. Marcus hesitated, then opened it. Marcus, I know what you did. I figured it out 2 weeks ago when the doctors couldn't explain my decline. You were always brilliant. I know you well enough to know you'd find a way to make me suffer. I don't blame you. You thought I betrayed you for greed. If I had thought the same, I would have done worse. I'm writing to tell you this. I forgive you completely. You didn't know the truth, and I couldn't tell you. This is on me as much as it is on you. But Marcus, please don't let this destroy you. Don't let them win. They wanted us to destroy each other. Don't give them that victory. Miguel is safe. Sophia is safe. The people behind this are still out there, still free, still winning. But our children live. That matters more than anything. Be better than I was. Better than revenge. Better than rage. You are a father. Act like one. Find your son. Tell him the truth. Don't waste the time I sacrificed to keep him safe. I loved you like a brother, Marcus. I'm sorry we couldn't find a way through this tragedy. Your friend always, David. Marcus read the letter 5 times, folded it carefully, placed it on the desk, stared at the wall. Dawn came. He didn't move. The sun set. He didn't move. Days blurred. If this revelation shattered you like it did Marcus, show some love with a like and comment below. What would you do if you discovered you'd killed an innocent person who was protecting your own family? The final minutes of Marcus's story will reveal just how far a human being can fall and what redemption might look like. Miguel Chen opened the door. A stranger stood there, gray hair, hollow eyes, clothes that smelled faintly of neglect. Can I help you? He asked. My name is Marcus Chen, the man said, voice low, distant. I'm your father. Miguel's face shifted rapidly. Confusion, recognition, shock. You're the guy who went to prison. The Medicare fraud. Yes. My mother, she said you didn't know about me. I didn't, Marcus admitted. Not until prison. And by then, he trailed off. Miguel waited. I need to tell you about David Rodriguez, Marcus continued. He was my best friend. He was protecting you. He sacrificed everything to keep you safe. And I killed him. Miguel stepped back. What? Marcus's voice was flat, almost clinical, reciting facts from a place far away. I thought he betrayed me. I poisoned him. By the time I learned the truth, it was too late. He died protecting you, and I murdered him for it. I think you should leave, Miguel said, fear creeping in. I should, Marcus agreed. But you need to know your life exists because of his courage and my stupidity. Remember David Rodriguez. He was better than I ever was. He turned and walked away. Miguel called after him. Wait, are you okay? Marcus didn't answer. He kept walking. The breakdown. 3 days later, guilt became unbearable. He tried drinking, couldn't get drunk enough to forget. He tried sleeping. David's face haunted him. He tried working. Every task, every thought, every calculation was consumed by the poison he had created, the friend he had killed, the life he had destroyed for nothing. On the third night, Marcus stood on his balcony, 7 floors up. The drop was easy, tempting. His phone rang. Sophia Rodriguez. He answered automatically. Mr. Chen? Her voice trembled. This is Sophia, David Rodriguez's daughter. I know who you are, Marcus whispered. I found your number in my dad's things. I wanted you to know that before he died, he asked me to tell you something if I ever got the chance. Marcus closed his eyes. What? She hesitated. Then, softly, he said, brothers forgive each other, no matter what. He said you'd understand. The phone slipped from Marcus's hand. Her voice echoed in the distance, surreal, almost like a memory. Brothers forgive each other. But Marcus couldn't forgive himself. The city lights flickered below. The night was quiet. And for the first time in years, Marcus realized some consequences cannot be escaped. The institution. 3 days later, the police found Marcus Chen in his apartment, sitting, silent, staring at a blank wall. He had stopped eating, stopped drinking, stopped existing. Paramedics took him to Harborview Medical Center. Psychiatrists evaluated him for 48 hours. The conclusion, complete psychotic break, triggered by trauma and guilt. He spoke occasionally, fragments only. I killed him. Brothers forgive each other. The poison has no antidote. David knew. He always knew. Medication, therapy, nothing penetrated the hollow shell that had once been Marcus Chen. 2 weeks later, he was transferred to Western State Hospital, long-term psychiatric care. 6 months later, Dr. Jennifer Patel, trauma psychiatrist, took over his case. A man who had been a medical genius, billionaire, visionary, now broken beyond recognition. Marcus sat by the window, white hair, slack, empty face, eyes void of hope. Dr. Chen, she said softly, I'd like to help you. He didn't respond. I know what happened. David, Miguel, revenge gone wrong. A flicker in his eyes. You can't stay like this. David forgave you. Miguel still exists. Punishing yourself. It doesn't honor him. Marcus whispered. I can't. I'm a murderer, a fraud. I destroyed everything for revenge. I deserve worse. Dr. Patel sighed. Maybe. But David didn't think so. His forgiveness still matters. Tears streamed. First emotion in weeks. It makes it worse. He died with grace while I killed him with cruelty. 3 months passed. Some days Marcus responded. Most days he did not. Medication, therapy. He went through motions like a robot. The genius was gone. Only a hollow shell remained. 1 year later, Sophia Rodriguez visited. She found him in the day room, silent, alone. Mr. Chen? Marcus looked up. Recognition flickered. Sophia? She sat down. My father asked me to check on you to make sure you were okay. Marcus laughed bitterly. Look around. Do I look okay? No, you look broken. Good, that's what I deserve. Your father didn't think so. He was better than I'll ever be. Marcus closed his eyes. Sophia continued. He made me promise something. Tell you. Revenge destroys the avenger. Forgiveness destroys the revenge. I forgive him completely, and he needs to forgive himself. Marcus whispered. I can't. Why not? The only justice is suffering. Because you're a coward, Sophia said. Shock. Silence. Live with the guilt? Yes, but use it. David wanted you to be present for Miguel. You're wasting the sacrifice. She left. Her words echoed. Coward. Wasting the sacrifice. Do better. Marcus stared at his hands, the hands that had created revolutionary technology, the hands that had poisoned his best friend, hands that could still do things if he chose to. But he could 2 years later. Dr. Patel wrote her final report: severe treatment-resistant depression and guilt-induced psychosis, prognosis poor, long-term care indefinitely. She visited one last time. Marcus, you had every chance to honor David, to be a father, to heal. Instead, you chose this. Marcus, I didn't choose, it chose me. No, she said. You chose it every single day. It's not justice. It's suicide by institutionalization, and it's certainly not what David deserved. Marcus looked out the window, alive but absent. 3 years later, Marcus Chen remains a patient at Western State Hospital, exists, follows routines, takes medication, lives in a shell. Miguel Chen graduates from Stanford, works on ethical AI and medicine, never visits his father. Sofia Rodriguez starts a foundation in her father's name, turning grief into purpose. Biotech innovations, the true architects of destruction, remain untouched, free, victorious. Marcus Chen, once a billionaire genius, sits trapped in a prison of guilt that has no release. From genius to fraud to murderer to madman, from empire builder to patient, the fall from grace, total. Stories like this remind us, revenge always extracts the heaviest price from the one seeking it. Marcus destroyed his best friend for a betrayal that never happened. The truth came too late to save anyone. If this journey moved you, subscribe for more tales of human ambition, betrayal, and the consequences of misplaced justice. Sometimes the greatest tragedy isn't the fall itself, it's refusing to get back up.